what I wanted to find out is I've got two computers on my desk right now. Okay, one is a MacBook, and the other one is a MacBook Air. And I'm just testing something. I have AT&T Uverse, so that's what I got. Our computer is basically set up to where, like, when they install the let's say whatever for the internet, all the computers basically have the same, like, hardware or whatever?
No. So your speed, so you're getting a certain amount of speed from your internet service provider. But that's just the raw speed coming into your house. Then they've got a cable modem. That can speed you up or slow you down. Then you've got a router. Sometimes those two are together. That can speed you up or slow you down. Then if you're using hardwire, that's faster. If you're using Wi-Fi, that's slower. The distance, if you're using wireless, from the wireless access point can slow you down. The number of machines on the wireless access point can slow you down. And the radios in your hardware can slow you down. So it's a very complex system. And I actually left stuff out. For instance, we were talking earlier about these DDoS attacks, internet cameras and other stuff, DVRs being used to attack other machines. One of the symptoms of that is your internet suddenly gets slow because your camera is being used to attack a site.
Exactly. And, another thing, too, that I've noticed is, like, people have been talking about, when you get on Wi-Fi, let's say you have a laptop. I mean, what is links? Links seems to be kind of a porthole to where, if you're in an area, you can sometimes pick up that Wi-Fi signal. Who is Link?
Linksys. And that's your neighbor. So I was mentioning that the real problem with the Internet of Things these days is default passwords. And I said, if you can, and you have a device that's connected to the Internet, if you can change the default login, you should. Well, when you see an access point as you're driving around or even at home on your couch that says Linksys, right, that's somebody who hasn't changed at least the name of the router. Now, that is often a good indicator that they probably haven't changed the default settings either, which means the next thing, if you were a bad guy, you would do is you would try to log into that router using the default password, admin. And if you got in, oh, wow, have fun. Now you can do all sorts of things, including, and this is what the bad guys do, put malware on that router.
But admin is basically the default password.
Right. So the default name is Linksys. That's the company. Cisco makes Linksys routers. And the default password on many Linksys routers, the login is admin and the password is admin. Now, they change that from time to time. But just, if you want, just as a fun exercise, Google default Wi-Fi passwords. Yeah. And you'll find brand name after brand name. And you'll find the built-in password and login for all of these routers. So if you are using a Wi-Fi router, folks, there are only a few steps you need to secure it, but you must do these.
Right, you must do this. So it's called default.
Here's what you need to do. Let's say you go out today and you say, I need a new router. You go out and you buy a router.
Okay.
First thing you need to do, of course, you log in. You can control the router by logging into its internet address. Usually it's 192.168.1.1 or 1. It'll say in the manual. You log into and you'll see a control panel. First thing to do is change the default name of it. You don't want it to say Linksys. You probably don't want to say your address or even your family name. You don't want to give a bad guy any information with that name. So I use Dead Rock Stars. I'm giving away some information here. If you're near my house, you'll see Morrison or Winehouse or Hendrix.
Exactly.
But you could use solar systems, you could use planets, whatever you want. But the reason you have a system is so that I can kind of remember it, and then I'll know if I see an access point, oh, that must be mine. So change that to something that doesn't leak information about where that router is. Then change the login to that router. So there's an administrative login. Now, you know what it is because the first time you log in, you're using the default admin or whatever that is, admin blank. That you also got from the manual. There's a setting right there. Change the login. Usually you can change the name. If you can't change it from admin, leave it, but do change the password. It doesn't have to be the best password you ever came up with, but it should be a password that is not the same as the default. Right. The reason it's not so important to make it be super secure is because the next thing you do is you turn off WAN administration. What this means is that somebody can administer your router from the outside world. Sometimes people want that, but you don't. No one listening to this show should have that. If you're an IT professional and you need to administrate routers from your office, okay. But no one with a home router should ever have WAN administration turned on. So turn that off. Turn off UPnP, Universal Plug and Play. That's a feature many routers have that allow software running inside the network to open up holes to the outside world. Now, that's fine if you're playing an Xbox game and you want to have a server running. It's very bad if you get malware on your home computer and it goes, watch this, and it opens up your router to the outside world. So UPnP is a Microsoft technology that's dangerous. Turn that off. And then the last and maybe most important thing, after changing the default password, is to turn on WPA2 encryption. That keeps other people from using your Wi-Fi access point, and more importantly, means that any communication you have that's floating through the air on Wi-Fi cannot be snooped upon by other people. It encrypts it all. So those are the steps. If you do that, your Wi-Fi router is as secure as your wired internet connection.
Yeah, can you hear me still?
Yep.
Okay, so you were saying that you can go to default, the website for the default, it's called default passwords?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying Google it. So if this is just an exercise, but if you say, let me try.
Google what? Yeah,
Google default Wi-Fi router passwords. How about that? Default Wi-Fi router passwords. Google is very helpful. Google doesn't even have to send you a page. It just says, let's see, Digicom is password, or Michelangelo. Linksys is admin. Netgear is password, and on and on and on. Or you can go to routerpasswords.com. Look at that. And you can enter in the manufacturer, and it'll tell you the default router password, ASUS. Let's see, admin, except for the P5P800. That one is NA, doesn't use a username and just admin. So in other words, these are widely publicly available. That's why you shouldn't let it stay the router password.
Yeah, but what I've noticed too is with let's say internet access. Obviously, if you use your smartphone, the Android system has a whole different ballgame. It can receive the internet. You could be just about anywhere because it's a 4G system as compared to.
Well, that's a little different because you're not logging into somebody's Wi-Fi. You're using your connection with your cellular company. That's a very different thing. I should mention, one of the questions you posed is it possible that my MacBook Air is not as fast as my MacBook Pro? Even within a product line, sometimes there can be differences. So we've just learned the new iPhone 7. There are two models. In the U.S., there's a CDMA-capable model and a GSM-only model. If you get your iPhone 7 from T-Mobile or AT&T, you'll have the GSM-only model. It has an Intel radio in it. If you get it from Sprint or Verizon, it has a Qualcomm radio in it. And I've just seen benchmarks that say the Qualcomm radio is better at LTE. It will use LTE signals that are weaker, and it's faster. So even if you buy an iPhone 7, if you look on the back of the iPhone 7 and you can see the model number, you can see if you have an Intel or Qualcomm radio, and even within a single product line, the Intel radio is slower. So that can happen with laptops too. But that's just one of a large passel of compatibility and speed issues. It's as they say on Facebook, it's complicated. They're talking about relationships. Wi-Fi is even more complicated.